All right, y'all. We give praise, esteem, and honor to the Most High Yahuwah in the name of Yahushua HaMashiach. You pick us up at John chapter 5, verse 39. Search the scriptures, for in them you think you have eternal life, and there they testify of me. And you will not come to me that you might have life. I receive not honor from men, but I know you, that you have not the love of Elohim and you. I come in my Abba's name, and you receive me not. If another shall come in his own name, him you will receive. How can you believe which receive honor one of another and seek not the honor that comes from Elohim only? Do not think that I will accuse you to Abba. There is one that accused you, even Moses, in whom you trust. But had you believed Moses, you would have believed me, for he wrote of me. But if you believe not his writings, how shall you believe my words? Shalom, man. So Proverbs chapter 16 and verse 14, and we have to delve into that with a little bit more detail. Proverbs 16 and 14 say the wrath of the king is his messengers of death, but a wise man will pacify it. What I was thinking of last night was the destroying angel, when really it's just the destroyer. So let's come back over here to Exodus chapter 12, picking up about verse 20. Make it verse 18. Exodus chapter 12, verse 18. It said, the first month on the 14th day of the month at even, you shall eat unleavened bread until the 120th day of the month at even. 7 days shall there no leaven be found in your houses. For whosoever eat that which is leaven, even that soul shall be cut off from the congregation of Yasharal, whether he be a stranger or born in the land. You shall eat nothing leavened, in all your habitations shall you eat unleavened bread. Then Moses called for all the elders of Yasharal and said unto them, draw out and take you a lamb according to your families, and kill the Passover. And you shall take a bunch of hyssop and dip it in the blood that is in the basin. Strike the lintel of the two side posts with the blood that is in the basin, and none of you shall go out the door of his house until the morning. See, cut it out, because you weren't even supposed to be over there no way. He said, for Yahuwah will pass through to smite the Egyptians. And when he see the blood upon the lintel on the two sides, Yahuwah will pass over the door and will not suffer the destroyer to come into your houses to smite you. Let's look at this word for destroyer. It's a word that you should be familiar with. And it is shakah. And you know that it's to destroy or to ruin. This is how this angel is referred to, as someone who's coming to destroy and ruin. You got Shan, Kot, and Tau. And you can come up with something with that if you will. Because remember the wrath. So this is the wrath of the king when you look at this in regard to the Egyptians. That wrath was coming through by the hand of the destroyer to destroy the Egyptians. And not only just the Egyptians, but their deities. Shan, Kot, and Tau. Shakath is the word.
Hey. Touch your mouth, man.
After we finish the Exodus 12, we'll pick it up in Psalm 78. Probably about verse 43. Well, you got Sean, so you're definitely going to have destruction when you come to that. When you got that Kot, you have somebody who's being separated to destruction. But why are they being separated to destruction? Because they've joined themselves they have a mark or a covenant that they should not have. In this regard, when we're looking at it, because who is getting the blood on the doorpost? In reality, is a sign of an agreement between you and Yahuwah. Because of your faith, you place the blood of this lamb upon your doorpost, and this is what caused the destroyer to pass over this household. So pause. Hebrews chapter 9. So Hebrews 9 and 15.
Yeah.
Hebrews 9 and 15. And for this cause, he is the mediator of the New Testament, that by means of death, for the redemption of the transgressions that were under the first testament, they which are called might receive the promise of eternal inheritance. For a testament is, there must also necessity be death of the testator. For a testament is of force after men are dead, otherwise it is of no strength at all while the testator lives. Now, we didn't talk about how the firstborn being slain in Egypt related to a Mashal, but in this particular instance, the blood of this lamb is shed in order for you to receive an inheritance, which is the inheritance that he swore to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. The wrath is being dropped on the Egyptians, not only for the hardness of Pharaoh's heart, but like we read last night in Exodus 12, he said he'd bring judgment on the gods of Egypt. And some of those things that we mentioned last night were in regards to these are Egyptian deities who at the end of the day, the whole world worships. It could be whatever culture, but at the end of the day, it goes back to two cultures, the two fundamental cultures that are mentioned in this text, and that's Egypt and Babylon. You know, they give a lot of credence to Rome and Greece, but Rome and Greece got everything that they got from Egypt and Babylon. This is known in history. You know what I'm saying? You see a lot of people when you was in school, you didn't care about history class. It was boring to you. That wasn't something you probably cared about. Didn't get you going, wasn't provocative. This is how you're able to notice human behavior, human psychology, and patterns that happen in the world that you live in. Because as the book tells us, there's nothing new under the sun. And everything that these people are doing, a previous generation before them did it, and a previous generation before them did it, and a previous generation before them did it. But you looking at this stuff and you thinking this stuff is new, and this stuff is not new. They've been doing it. You have deluded yourself into believing that you're at a higher level in society where people don't conduct themselves in such uncouth fashions, or that people don't work, or that people are just simply Buddhists, Muslims, Christians, Judaism. You have deceived yourself into believing that. Now, one of the things that we're going to look at this evening, and I have been listening to it all weekend and it clicked in my mind this morning, is to ask when, matter of fact, when you put that in there, and that's the hero cult. You know what I'm saying? And most of everybody in this world has been part of a hero cult at one point in time in their lifetime, especially if you ever described yourself as a fan of anyone. Because that is Greek mythology, which goes back to ancient Egyptian mythology, and you're participating in idolatry unbeknownst to you. You know, this big over here. You know, idols is big overseas. See, we can't really know how big idols is overseas because you haven't visited to every country. But you know, in America, idols are very, very a big thing. You see idols everywhere. They make that, it's a big old idol right where the Jacksonville land in that. Don't you know that statue of Andrew Jackson? That's an abomination to him sitting there on that horse in front of where the land used to be. That's an abomination. They'll make a statue for anyone. Why? The purpose is to immortalize this person, so that you will come and visit this statue and by proxy give unbeknownst veneration to this person as if they're a deity. And you just thinking, oh, look at the statue of Kobe Bryant. Look at the statue of Magic Johnson. Look, like people have full-fledged ceremonies. No, man, full-fledged ceremonies to unveil a bronze statue of a man. And people be standing out there crying. You don't even know that with the Hollywood Walk of Fame. That's a sign of idolatry by making the hero cult. Now, when you go to LA, people feel like, I got to go to the Walk of Fame. You see a bunch of stars. Those stars are constant. But that's a whole nother thing. People be telling you what they got going on. Psalm 78 and 43. Anything that can get you to put your focus on man and not God. And that's the point of what we were talking about last night about the number of the beast being the number of a man. Because your focus will be on man and not your creator. Because they want you to worship the creation and not the creator. That's why the wrath of the king is as messengers of death. Put it to you this way. When you commit idolatry, what is the sentence? Debt. You know what I'm saying? So you're getting back what you want to return. As y'all know, in Ezekiel chapter 14, he told you about making idols in your heart. And people have people think idols is just statues that you bow down and worship. But you know what the first commandment was. I'm Yahuwah your Elohim, have no other God before me. Well, what does God translate to? It translates to power. Well, power is anything that you put your energy and focus on. So anything that you put more focus on before Yahuwah has become an idol in your heart. You know what I'm saying? Period, point blank. It doesn't matter what it is. You have some people, their children are idols because you worship your children. Anything you put on a pedestal is an idol because you lifted it up greater than what it's supposed to do. Remember, we read that in one of Paul's letters where he made that mention of to not esteem anybody above what is written. See, the biggest mistake that people make is you put somebody up here versus placing them where the books say they are. They're flesh and blood. They're flesh and blood. And of course, you know, in this world, probably the biggest mistake that most men do is they've been taught to put a woman on a pedestal. And most dudes end up making idols out of their mamas, out of their grandmamas, out of their daughters, and out of their wives. Which is, of course, I knew that reason. That's why they came with that girl dad crap after Kobe died. But even before Kobe died, I knew that this nigga was promoting goddess worship. That junk was plain. It was plain what he was doing. It's not plain when you don't know what you're looking at. You know what I'm saying? You think, oh, he just loves his daughters and this, that, there, and the third. And niggas sitting there ready to do it. Shalom, Brother Francis. Bro, I just said shalom, hashtag girl dad. Use a lane. You just following stuff and doing it. Because what are they telling you to do? Screw your son and break your daughter. You know what I'm saying? That's why they came and told you black girl magic and all this other stuff. So you can say screw him. So you can elevate her over him. When I've told you numerous times before, there's not a single woman on the face of this earth that is a threat to anyone. They don't deem you as a threat. They never seen you as a threat. What civilization has any woman ever brought down? Not name. You know what I'm saying? What civilization has any woman ever built? Not name. So why is she a threat? And y'all should know that from the text. Because the law tell you, they didn't say let's kill all the daughters. They say kill all the sons. Because the son is the threat. So if we can marginalize him, then we can kick. And this is a part of what we were talking about last night about finesse. See, that's finesse. Now, they'll use certain aspects of physical violence to execute their finesse, but in the midst of killing your sons, they would devalue your sons in your mindset and your eyesight to where you don't deem him as worthy of acceptance and love and direction and guidance to the point that you say he wouldn't need his daddy. All he needs is me. Now you became a mother goddess. Your son is behind the 8 ball. Now my people can be easily more controlled because they're dominated by feminine energy. Because I've marginalized the one who is a threat by making this woman believe that she has more power than what she really has, falling for the very trick that Satan hit Eve with in the garden. By giving you the ability and thought process that you have control and decision making, which is what you crave, to the destruction of your whole race of people. And you cheer for it and ask for it. And then turn around and say, black man, you ain't doing this and you ain't doing that. But that's what you wanted. So since that's what you wanted, this is the byproduct of it. Don't cry about what you asked for. Same way you say, that little boy say he asked for some vegetables and you give him the vegetables and he don't want it. Well, that's what you asked for. Now you got to eat. You know what I'm saying? See, this type of situation that's going on in the earth with all this stuff being closed down, it's making some women realize maybe I do actually need to listen to and follow the directions of a man. Because now you're being marginalized. Now you're seeing that you really don't matter and that you're not that really big of a threat. Because once they remove your ability to work, most of y'all work is not anything that can sustain a community for the most part. That means most of y'all got to stay to the house. And if you got to stay to the house, you can't earn any income. And if you can't earn any income, then what can you really flaunt in a man's face to tell him he's better, that you better than him? Now your degrees and your jobs and all that don't mean anything. See, that'll get worse as things collapse even more so in the totalitarian draconian police state and things of that nature are enacted. But nevertheless, let's continue. I'm through with that. I need Psalm 70. It's a harsh reality, but it is what it is. And look at it, I just get to say Trump said he said if one sport was going to start on time, he said the NFL would. Ain't that something? That's what that notification said. So he sat down with 12 sports commissioners and said, we're going to have sports by August and September. But guess what that means? You're going to be to the house till July. This is how I told you what Buddy said, though. They're going to give it to you in 30-day increments. April 30th come, they're going to be like, you know what? We got to stay in the house till June. You know what? You got to stay in the house till July. And all that does is marginalize you more and more and more. And then ain't nobody going to want to hear that independent woman crap. How independent are you now? Because now you got to go to the soup line asking for gruel. File your unemployment tax. Niggas crying about how the government only shooting $1,200 tax. Why you thought they cared about you, you big dummy? Well, Canada giving their people this here. Well, that's Canada, nigga. Should have moved to Canada then. But you said you want to be here and be free because this is America. You know what I'm saying? You can do whatever you want to do here. Now when they done destroyed the economy, you wanted to come take care of you. And you know the first one of the first group of people gonna look for Mr. White Man to take care of is the black woman. She gonna be the first one in line. You supposed to take care of me. The black man ain't gonna go looking for because he already know he don't care nothing about me. I've been had to get it off the muscle. Now you know how I feel. You know what I'm saying? I can't go downtown and get a voucher and get an apartment for $3 a month. You know what I'm saying? I can't do that. All you got to do is put your booty in there, have a baby. They give you whatever you want. And then our people didn't realize that was the okie doke. Because that was to get you to say, I don't need this man. And the government be your man because you follow his direction and his guidance and his doctrines. I don't want to listen to him. He said in the UK, they pushed it to May. I told you what they said in the UK, boy, they said 18 to 24 months. What are they going to do in the house for a year and a half? A year and a half? Well, shoot, at that point, nigga, if I got to die, it's shoot. What does nigga say? If he dies, he dies.
Yeah, they even way trying to ain't nothing land.
I wouldn't get how much land in war. I feel like that nigga Ivan Drago. If he dies, he dies. I got to go on out. He can't stay in the house for a year and a half. Nigga. That's doing a bid. You're doing a bid. So y'all think prayerfully. Y'all ain't never been locked up. Man, you talking about being in the room all day long, a 6 by 9? You looking out the window every day. Boy, it look nice outside. They got you doing that in your house.
You can sit and crap all day.
Yeah, but nah, yeah, criminals, not regular people.
Yeah. Criminals are flourishing.
Regular people like this ain't right. Ain't right. Psalm 78:43. He said he had wrought his signs in Mizraim and his wonders in the field of Zoan. He turned their rivers into blood and their floods that they could not drink. He sent diverse sorts of flies among them, which devoured them, frogs which destroyed them. He gave also their increase unto the caterpillar and their labor unto the locust. He destroyed their vines with hail and their sycamore trees with frost. Kira say she been living like that. He gave up their cattle. Oh, shoot, she live in a one-stop light town. When she got to go outside. He said he gave up their cattle also to the hail and their flocks to hot thunderbolts. He cast upon them the fierceness of his anger, wrath and indignation and trouble by sending evil angels among them. That's it. Think about that. Who did he send? He said he sent evil angels. Let's look at it and see, because that evil in italics. My correction. Among them is in italics. You know you live in a one-stop town, Kira. I mean, Kira said they ain't even got a McDonald's. You know you live in a small town. You ain't got McDeath in the city. So you know what it said? It says it's a raw molly or evil molly. That's what he said, an evil messenger. Which remember what he said, the messengers, the wrath of the king is messengers of death, because you who ain't gonna come kill you. Now you got Rosh and Ayin. So what does that tell you? That's what evil means. Rosh and Ayin. I mean the characters. Rosh and Ayin. Ain't that something the people around here talking about they worship the Amen Ra? Their own language tell you that nigga evil. You run across some Egypt dude, they be quick to see when you say amen, you saying Amen Ra. Nigga, that's not even what that translates to, cuz. But dudes that hit you with so much simplicity, see Israel, Isis, Ra, El, I'd be like, man, go on and lay down. They'll literally tell you that what that means. If you say you Israel, you really Isis, Ra, and El. The god Isis and Horus. This ain't no cow. You done heard them niggas say that before? Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, they'll hit you with that real quick. You really just Isis, Ra, and El. Mm-hmm. What they be wanting you to be Egyptian so bad, man? Rosh and Ayin, though. Walking to the door like that was the official greeting party.
There's a guy come sit down. Sit down.
Definitely you're gonna know the highest. You just gonna know them in a fashion you wasn't looking to know them in. You definitely gonna experience the highest. You definitely gonna experience them in a fashion you ain't want to experience them in. But come on, Amos chapter 3, man. I buy nothing. Yeah, I don't care. Well, what you supposed to be? No, I said what you supposed to be doing. I didn't say you were doing anything. I said, what are you supposed to be doing? Amos 3:1. Don't worry, I'm supposed to be whooping your butt. All right, then. Supposed to, not supposed to. Don't you see that light on? Somebody? Amos 3:1. Hear this word that you have spoken against you, O sons of Yasharal, against the whole family which are brought up out of the land of Israel, saying, you only have I known of all the families of the earth. Therefore I will punish you for all your iniquities. Can two walk together except they be agreed? Will a lion roar in the forest when he have no prey? Will a young lion cry out of his den if he taken nothing? Can a bird fall in a snare upon the earth where no gin is for him? Shall one take up a snare from the earth and have nothing at all? Shall a trumpet be blown in the city and the people be not afraid? Shall there be evil in the city and Yahuwah have not done it? Like I just seen today, they said there was 10,000 more cases of COVID-19 in New York City in 24 hours. Really about 11,000. They said out of 11,000, 640 people died. You know, they said it was 9 people died in Duval County. And you know what the age of those 9 people was? Nobody under the age of 8. In Duval County. Nobody under the age of 8. Matter of fact, everybody in Northeast Florida, it was only one person that was, you could consider to be young. Well, 2. One was 44, the other was 52. Everybody else was 65 and above. Now, my man, he say, and Travis said the same thing. It's a different age range in Detroit. Who died? You got some young people dying, some old people dying. I seen a couple people in the Word who got it. And one lady, she was on live. She looked like she was done. You know what I'm saying? Like I ain't being funny. Like she looked like she was ready to lay down. You know what I'm saying? She looked like she was dead on the ventilator. Like how her eyes looked like she ain't had no life in her. Looked like she was ready to quit. The other brother was like an elder in their congregation, like he was ready to quit. Sometimes, man, as people get ready to die and they get hit with an affliction, that junk hit them so hard, take all their energy, they be like, you know what, death would be better. Some people really feel that way. Not that they don't believe in you or they just like this here. I just ain't got the strength to fight this here. I'm gonna just go ahead and lay down. Cause that's how she looked. You know, dealing with that breathing, you know, that scare people. You know what I'm saying? You feel like you can't breathe. You know, that's you who ain't right there. Once that breath gone, it's over with. You know what I'm saying? Some people don't even look like that when they get shot or have surgeries. But you dealing with that shortness of breath and this, that, and the third, well, that scared the daylights out of you. That in your heart. Look at what he said, right? Won't nothing happen in the city unless Yahuwah did it. I want you to come over here to what I want. I think it's what? 2 Samuel 24? Yeah. 2 Samuel 24. Maybe about verse 12. I just want you to see a couple of instances where the wrath of Yahuwah came and it was dispensed by messengers of death, meaning the angels. Because the angels are remember what he said, right? The angels are flames of fire and they're ministering servants. To minister to the heirs of salvation, but they also minister wrath to the wicked. I need a little higher than that. Make it 24-1. I tried to wait for you, Lee. They told me you were running behind. He said, again, the anger of Yahuwah was kindled against Yasharal, and he moved David against them to say, go, number, Yasharal and Yehuda. Now, in another place, who it was stated that it influenced David to do that. Do y'all know where it states who influenced David to do that? No, it's in the other account of Chronicles. Because here it says that, and he moved David against them to say, go and number Yasharal and Yehuda. But huh? Satan did, yeah. Satan did. The adversary did. Now, why is David in error for doing this? Well, I think it's going to tell you in a minute. He wasn't supposed to. He already told you that he made the children of Yasharal like the sand of the sea. Numbering the people was not to be any of your concerns. But see, that goes into doing things that you think is right because you feel like that's what you want to do when you know you ain't got no business doing. Let's continue. So the king said to Joab, the captain of the host, which was with him, go now throughout all the tribes of Yasharal, from Dan even to Beersheba, number you the people, that I may know the number of the people. Joab said unto the king, now Yahuwah your Elohim add unto the people, how many soever they be hundredfold, and that the eyes of my Lord the king may see it. But why do my Lord delight in this thing? Like you ask him, why does that make you happy? Now you have to ask yourself for that one there. The reason being because what we're looking at. The wrath of the king is as a messenger of death. That wrath usually comes because you delight yourself in things that you have no business delighting yourself in. And you have to ask yourself, why do you delight in that? Now look what Joab did. Joab trying to give him some wisdom. You know what Yahuwah has done, but you want to do this. Why does this make you happy? Why are you getting delight? Why do you feel the need to do this? Notwithstanding, the king's word prevailed against Joab and against the captain of the host, captains of the host, and Joab and the captains of the host went out from the presence of the king to number the people of Yasharal. So not only did Joab resist it, but all the captains of the army resisted it and told him, nah, bro, you shouldn't do that. But look who he said, and he moved. Well, clearly, this instance is from who? This from Yahuwah. Why would Yahuwah do this here? For violations for the people in the past? Because remember what he says, he forgives sins and iniquity, but he by no means clears the guilty. See, you can be forgiven, but punishment still will be rendered. You know what I'm saying? And see, that's the part that we don't look at. And punishment don't necessarily mean that he's going to kill you. That's just like telling a child, I forgive you for what you did, son. Go outside and play. But there's no repercussions for his bad decision making. So then, because there's no repercussions for his bad decision making, guess what he will do? Feel like it's comfortable for him to make bad decisions because there's no consequences for my choices because you forgave me. You know what I'm saying? Now, one thing we can say about Yahuwah will push you right upside your head, man. That is usually the last resort. That's what he means when he say he's long suffering and slow to anger. By the time his wrath comes, he has exhausted all remedies for you to change your behavior. Like he just don't usually come off the top rope and slap the five. You know what I'm saying? He's a very merciful individual. So therefore his mercy extends for probably a lot longer than we deserve it for. But when he come off the top rope, it's a wrap for you. You know what I'm saying? That's why one of the attributes of the fruits of the Ruach is what? Long suffering. What does Yahuwah always describe himself as? Long suffering. So we look at it as somebody violate retribution. He don't do that. He pointed out, hey, you in error. Might put you in a situation where you could understand your error. But he don't necessarily just go upside and start busting you upside your head. Because he's already told you, he that is slow to wrath, quick to wrath, that rests in the bosom of a fool. And Elohim is not quick to wrath. That's why a lot of people take him for somebody to be played with. You know what I'm saying? He is not quick to wrath. That is not his attribute. Can you imagine if he was quick to wrath? No one on the earth would be alive. No one on the earth would be alive. This is why, that's one of the attributes, that's probably one of the most difficult attributes for people to understand and compartmentalize in their heart and execute, and that's the ability to be long-suffering. You know what I'm saying? Because you feel like, oh, nigga ain't gonna pop me. Nigga ain't gonna do me like that. But yet Yahuwah sat in heaven where you tried him and did him like that many a day. And he could have took your life from you and did not do so. But extended a right hand of mercy towards you to try to show you and guide you in the way that you should go. More importantly, Paul, Second Chronicle chapter 36. Eugene. 36 and 11. Second Chronicle 36 and 11. Yes. Well, thank you for telling me. Second Chronicles 36 and 11. And Zechariah was 21 years old when he began to reign, and reigned 11 years in Jerusalem. He did that which was evil in the sight of Yahuwah Elohim, and humbled himself not before Jeremiah the prophet, speaking from the mouth of Yahuwah. Now I'm going to grab this word for humble. Look at what he said he would not do. That word for humble here is kana, which is to be subdued, to be brought down, to be low, to be brought under subjection. To humble oneself. But notice, what Hebrew character has the meaning of subdued in it? Huh? I believe that's the Kaf. But you can double check that. My memory served me correctly. Kaf is the one to be subdued. So when you think about that Kaf or that palm of hand, that's somebody, what does that tell you? He was subdued or he was humble. Which goes back to what we were talking about last week and briefly mentioned in this week, and what Passover is all about, is being humble. See, look at the characters for that. Of course, you have Kaf, you have Nun, and you have Ayin. Proceed. Now notice what it said, he would not be brought into subjection to the word of Yahuwah from the mouth of Jeremiah. Because you know how we look at a lot of stuff? You know how we look at a lot of stuff? Oh, that's a man telling me that. I ain't listening to no man. And now understanding that man is speaking the words of Yahuwah, which is what we went by last night when Yahushua said, you will not see me again until you say, blessed be he that come in the name of Yahuwah. See, I'm going to read you John chapter 7 one more time. I mentioned it last night, but I'm just going to read it all the way down while you're thinking on that Kaf, Nun, and Ayin. And this is John chapter 7, about verse 16. Y'all know what it says. Oh, that's chapter 8. Say, Yahushua answered them and said, my doctrine is not mine, but his that sent me. If any man will do his will, he shall know of the doctrine, whether it be Elohim or whether I speak of myself. You know why a lot of people can't know if people preaching the word correctly or what they teaching be of God? Because they're not doing what the man say. Because if you're doing what the man say, then you would know what somebody was teaching you, if it was a Yahuwah or if they was talking to themselves. A lot of people be trying to tell people he ain't teaching the word right, and you don't even follow. So how would you know? You know what I'm saying? How would you know? That's like somebody coming to tell somebody how to run a business or do this and do that, and you ain't doing it yourself. How would you know if they were doing this correctly or incorrectly? I'm going to read that to you again. He said, Yahushua answered them and said, my doctrine is not mine, but his that sent me. If any man will do his will, he shall know of the doctrine, whether it be Elohim or whether I speak of myself. He that speak of himself seek his own esteem, but he that seek his esteem that sent him, the same is true, and there's no unrighteousness in it. See, that's the biggest point. If you want to know if a doctrine is true or not, do the will of Elohim, and that's all you need to know. So you mean to tell me that if you was doing the will of Elohim, Yahuwah wouldn't give you the discernment and ability to be able to tell if this person was talking out their butthole and trying to esteem themselves versus esteeming the person who gave it to them? That doesn't make any sense. But what we have in this world is a lot of people who do not live something, and then they try to critique those who are teaching and living it themselves. You can't do that. And that's why me and Ethan are talking about that. That's why a lot of these rules are going to be deceived. See, we were talking about this last night, too, after some of y'all left. I'm a firm believer of this without the word. 95% of the men who dwell on this earth are pure deep cowards because they are not willing to die for what they say they believe. You know what I'm saying? I felt like that before I went to prison. I felt like that in the street. I felt like that after prison. And I certainly believe it with the word. Niggas will not die for what they niggas compromise what they stand for and believe in too often for me to believe that people will stand up when things get critical. Because what happens, most people are selfish. And when you're selfish, you're going to seek to save yourself. And you'll compromise what you stand for in order to save yourself. See, what do they say the universal law is? Self-preservation. Why do you think when they start pulling out them guillotines and start throwing people in prison for Yahoo shot, niggas gonna fold? The man already told you this. You know what I'm saying? I ain't even talking about the whole world. I'm talking about those who say they believe it. They gonna fold. While niggas sitting around arguing about should you keep Passover or not, or what day the Sabbath on, those the biggest ones gonna fold. Like I said, you have to settle it in your heart already that what did we just read in Revelation 2 last night, right? He said, Satan will cast some of you into prison and he'll give you tribulation 10 days. He said, be faithful unto death. What is it to be faithful? See, that's a word that gets thrown around so loosely in this society in regards to the interactions between the opposite sexes versus being faithful to the things that you say you believe in. You know, in Proverbs chapter 20, it says, every man proclaims his own goodness, but a faithful man, who can find? You know what I'm saying? People will tell you how righteous they are, how much they love God, and this, that, and the third. But who is actually going to endure all the way to the end, even at the cost of their life? And it ain't many men, I ain't talking about the women. It ain't many men willing to do it. It ain't. It just ain't. That's just, come on, man. Niggas been domesticated. Niggas been emasculated. You know what I'm saying? So how are they going to have the wherewithal, the testicular fortitude, the intestinal fortitude, you know what I'm saying? The activation of faith to say, I will not be moved. I will not compromise. But what have you been told your whole life that you should do? Compromise. Hey, that's what people tell y'all to do? Compromise. Especially compromise with a woman. The average woman will tell her man, what your wife did when stuff got real. What's the first thing came out of her mouth? Curse God and die. And what he told her. You're talking like one of them fools. See, that was a man. Because see, that's the one thing. If you got a weak woman on your team, she gonna try to influence you to compromise what you stand for so she can stay alive. Because she don't really care nothing about you. She's trying to save herself. So she'll tell you, you need to curse this man and die, because once you're dead, then all these plagues gonna go away. And I get me a new man. You know what I'm saying? She don't care nothing about him. She'll tell you, you just need to go ahead and deny that man. They gonna kill us both. And you supposed to look at a hoe, you talking like one of them wicked hoes. You kill this hoe first. I'm throwing her out the door. It's serious though. You know what I'm saying? And most dudes will capitulate because he don't want her to be upset. He don't want to go back and forth with her. Because you've been told to compromise. You've been told to compromise so much that you'll compromise what you stand for readily. Readily. And just like I told the little dude, I've been knowing little dude for years. And I told y'all this the other day. Well, I told him what I told y'all. Once you compromise what you believe in, your values, your standards, and your ethics, you are no longer a man. You're no longer worthy to call yourself a man. You might as well just sit down and peace. Because you're not a man anymore. And you're not to be respected as a man. Because men don't do that. You know what I'm saying? Even if what you believe, you can say what you want to say about a lot of us so-called, you know, religious leaders in the past. Some of them niggas died. They believed them lies, though. I respect them for it as a man. They were willing to die for them lies. You know the truth, so you should be willing to die for it. Soul is to this day. To this day. To this day. All the way with. They don't mind. They'll die for it. Nevertheless, let's continue. Where I was at? Oh, what y'all came up with that cock noon and what it was?
That was for home. Cock noon and raw.
Cock noon and onion. I'll take it. Because that's what happens, right? When you humble yourself, you have to be, what are you being, what is that word that's subduing you? Let's just take a look at Luke chapter 24, right? Verse 25. Let me show you what that word is that's subduing you. Make that Luke 24:19. Now, again, this is what I'm talking about with the subduing and humbling is another aspect of what we need to look at more. What pacifies or purges the wrath? That's what we ended with last night. And that's the faith in the Son. And that faith in the Son is going to go back to what we were talking about on day one. And that's that you have to be subdued, or you have to humble yourself. You have to be willing to offer yourself. You have to be willing to do it. Of course, you know, when that book go to talk about, you know, sacrifices in certain spots, it's a votive offering or a free will offering. Or what we know in 1 Chronicles 28, you got to serve him with a ready heart and a willing mind. You have to be willing to offer yourself. He's not going to force you to do it. He ain't even finna beg you to do it. He'll give you the opportunity to do it because he is long suffering. But I'm telling you, people take that man long suffering for a joke. And that's how people treat Yahuwah. Nevertheless, Luke 24:19. And he said unto them, what? We'll make it verse 17. And he said unto them, what manner of communications are these that you have one to another as you walk and are sad? One of them, whose name was Cleopas, answering, said unto him, are you only a stranger in Jerusalem? Have you not known the things which are come to pass there in these days? He said unto them, what things? They said unto him concerning Yahushua of Nazareth, who was a prophet, mighty in deed and word before Elohim and all the people. So this is what he said. He was powerful in his works and with his words. And the chief priests and our rulers delivered him to be condemned to death and have crucified him. But we trusted that it had been he which would have redeemed Yasharal. And besides all this, today is the third day since these things were done. Yea, certain women also of our company made us astonished, which were early at the sepulchre, when they found not his body, and they came saying they had seen a vision of Malachim, and said that he was alive. And certain of them which were with us went to the sepulchre and found it even so as the women had said, but him saw they not. Then he said unto them, O fools and slow of heart to believe all that the prophets have spoken. Ought not Mashiach have suffered these things to enter into his esteem? And beginning at Moses and all the prophets, he expounded unto them in all the scriptures the things concerning himself. Well, what is the beauty of that? He said that he had to do what to enter in his glory and esteem? He had to suffer. Well, what was the purpose of the suffering? It was to humble him. It was to humble him. So when the words of Yahuwah were brought to his feet, he humbled himself under that word and was willing to be subdued by it. And because he was subdued by it, now he is able to know the words of everlasting life. See, you can't know the words of everlasting life if you refuse to humble yourself and be subdued by that word, because you have to crucify yourself. How many times have we discussed over the course of years that this man said you need to take up your stake and follow him? You have to be willing. And did Yahuwah force him to pick up that stake, or did he pick it up willingly? Because he said, I lay my life down of myself. Don't no man take that from me. I do this willingly. I do this willingly. Nobody's forcing me to do it. Nobody's begging me to do it. See, we live in a society where you feel like somebody got to beg you to do something. And when somebody doesn't beg you or basically validate you, then you feel like you don't want to fool with them. People of worth and value do not beg anyone or seek anyone's validation to get them to get down with what they got going on. Not no man of high value, not no righteous man. Beg you for what? Doing your own stench. You know what I'm talking about? Perish in your own vomit, as far as I'm concerned. That's how they're gonna look at it. Because I'm offering you a right hand of fellowship and you're rejecting it. So since you feel like you don't need my direction and my assistance and my guidance, be on your own. But you've been told niggas supposed to beg for you. I just seen a woman say this earlier today, that a man's supposed to prove himself to a woman. I said, that's a hoe talk. Because that's not no woman who's been raised by a woman with a proper mind. No man's supposed to be proving himself to no woman. He's debasing and devaluing himself at that point. And y'all know it, because y'all won't respect him. Because you're going to look at him like a simp. You know what the example she used? Jacob proved himself to Rachel. You're lying whore. He proved himself to her father. Was that an agreement between Jacob and Rachel or Jacob and Laban? Who did he make the agreement with? He made that agreement with his father. Now, why would he make that agreement with his father? Is that to prove that he's a good man, or is that the dowry he had to pay? And it was only for 7 years. Laban was with the foolishness. That's why he did it for 14, because Rachel is who he wanted. He didn't give a reason why that's who he wanted. He wasn't proving himself to Rachel. Rachel was going to be happy with whatever man her daddy told her to be with. She was going to be like, no, daddy, I don't want him. He ain't proved himself to me. That's new hoe stuff. You know what I'm saying? For real, though. That ain't old hoe stuff. That's new hoe stuff. That's the mind of a whore. You know what I'm saying? But it is a lot of. If we're going to say we're going to follow the word and see what it say, they had a different mentality. And we read in first Peter chapter 3 and say this is the mind that the women had of old time. Abraham's wife Sarah ain't think like that. You know what I'm saying? Rebecca didn't think like that. They didn't think the way that women think now. Not the righteous women of old. You had women back then that thought like these women think now. Don't get it twisted. All the women back then wasn't righteous. You had some hoes running around there too. You had some mother goddess worshiping women running around there too, but they thought differently. They didn't look at everything centered and revolved around them. They knew that they were to assist their man while their man served Yahuwah and guided the house. When we read Genesis 18, did he say, I know Sarah? He said, no, I know Abraham. That he'll teach his house justice and judgment in the way of Yahuwah. He said, I know what that man going to do. He going to teach Sarah about me. He going to teach Isaac about me. He going to teach all his servants about me. He going to teach and judge this house correctly according to me because he served and trusts me. And Sarah ain't had no problem with it. You know what I'm talking about? Because that's what I desire. Women, now you don't desire that. Because with that type of mindset, you have to relinquish control, which means you have to yield. You have to humble yourself and be subdued under the authority of this man. You don't want to do that. But you want this man to love you with the love of Mashiach. So how do you expect that type of love and then you're not willing to be submissive to him in that regard? Now, if you choose a nigga who don't serve Mashiach, that's your problem. You know what I'm saying? That's your fault. Because I seen a woman talking about you need to put these brothers on blast. They courting different women at one time. Well, if he ain't married to them, if he chooses to date multiple women, that's his choice. Clearly, if he has the ability to date multiple women, that means he's of value enough that he has options. Now, if he ain't sleeping with the women, he ain't doing nothing wrong. You know what I'm saying? Me personally, I wouldn't entertain 6, 7 different women at one time. But if he is not committed to say that I'm exclusively be with this woman for the purpose of getting married, then what sin has he committed? What error has he committed? On the backside, woman ain't got no business entertaining 6, 7 different women. That brings down your worth. You feel like with you, anybody can talk to her what I want her. You know what I'm saying? Because that's the difference. Men don't look at it how women look at it. A woman will look at it. If a lot of women want him, you say, well, clearly there's something desirable about him. But if a man see you talking to a lot of niggas, clearly you ain't that valuable. Because if you was, that many men wouldn't have access to you at one time. Wouldn't happen. Because you'll shut that down. As a woman, you wouldn't even feel comfortable entertaining, having 6, 7 different niggas hitting your phone talking about I want to be your man. You laughing at these niggas. You laughing at him. He's a sucker. He's a sucker. He's possible. He's a sucker. You don't respect that. Because you know that's not how it's supposed to be. Your internal nature tells you this is wrong. But we live in a society which causes you to override that. Same thing with a man. A man's ability is supposed to provide, to protect, to guide, to direct, to teach, to nurture. This society has told you to blunt that and be at the house playing video games and let a woman take care of you. And then try to run the house like you doing what you're supposed to be doing when she buy your drawers. You know what I'm saying? You drive her car. She take care of you. That don't work that way. It doesn't work that way. The whole thing is set up for you to go against what you were created to do. And you have to pay attention to that. And the whole reason why it's set that way is because you have not subdued yourself under the word. You haven't humbled yourself unto it. Because what does the word say a man's supposed to do? Love his wife as Mashiach loved his. So that's a certain standard that he has to carry. But it said that she was supposed to submit to her husband as unto the Lord in everything. So that's a different type of standard. That's a different type of mindset, which means you would have to purge yourself and put to death the old man and become a new creature. Because you can't serve Yahuwah and still be the same person you was before you knew Yahuwah. Because now you're mixing old wine and new wine. Now you put on wool and linen. And these two things don't go together. They're abominable to you, to Yahuwah, because you can't serve two masters, because you're going to cleave to one and you're going to hate the other. So you're either going to love your old mind and hate the new one, or you're going to cleave to your old mind and forsake the new one. Because if you love your new mind, then guess what you're going to have to do? You're going to forsake the old. You're going to hate the old, so you can't have both ways. You can't think carnal and godly at the same time. You're either going to be godly or you're going to be carnal, because you can't be both. Because it said there's enmity, it's hatred between the carnal mind and the instructions of Elohim. And anybody who is carnal cannot be subject to those instructions, because a carnal mind can't be subject to something that is telling you to what's the word? Mortify it. Because you have to mortify your carnal thoughts and members to serve Yahuwah. And that word is going to show you that your carnal thoughts and desires are contrary. Every time. It's going to say, no, you can't do this. You can't think like this. And that's why people get frustrated with the book down. Because I don't want to do, I still want to do this. What's the big deal? What's the big deal? Or have I heard many people in my lifetime tell me they like to stop the things that they feel easy to do, which are the things that they don't care about giving up. But they keep the things they feel like are hard, which really is not hard. It's just what you like to do. You're not willing to sacrifice that. So if you're not willing to sacrifice that, keep the name of Yahushua out your mouth. You know what I'm saying? You can't talk about a man who was willing to sacrifice for people who didn't deserve to sacrifice and then not be willing to sacrifice for him. Is that not hypocrisy? Back to 2 Chronicles 36, verse 13. Bird. James Jones. About to get yourself in trouble. Don't get yourself in trouble, little Henry Jones. Verse 13. Listen to what he also did. And he also rebelled against King Nebuchadnezzar, who made him swear by Elohim, but he stiffened his neck and hardened his heart from turning unto Yahuwah Elohim of Yasharal. Now, the reason why that is important is because when you refuse to subdue yourself under the word, the number one thing you're going to do after that is you're going to start rebelling. You're going to start bucking. Your heart going to get harder. You're going to refuse to listen, because I don't want to do that. As I mentioned before, the purpose of rebellion is really nothing but selfishness. And I told you before, you can't receive the Ruach and be selfish, because that's not the nature of Yahuwah. He done showed you that with the manifestation of Yahushua. He wasn't a selfish man. Meaning selfish, meaning he did not come first. Yahuwah always came first. And when I'm talking about selfish, I'm not talking about it in the aspect of how we look at selfishness. You can't be selfish and think that what you want and what you desire comes before Yahuwah. You can't do it. You can't do it. That's what ends up allowing you to be a servant to other people. Because once you realize you a servant to Yahuwah, then you'll be willing to be selfless to others. Because you already know what the Lord told you in the book of Acts. It's better for you to give than to receive. But let's look at the word for rebel here. It's marad, if you will. It's meme, rosh, and dalet. And you can go ahead and do your thing. And it means to revolt or to be rebellious against God or a human king. So notice who he bucked against. Not only did he buck the king, he bucked Elohim. Marad, meme, rosh, and dalet. Marad. Hello, Abigail. How are you? Hello, Lizzie. Hello, Simon. How are you, Lizzie? Are you well? Sire, are you well? Abigail, are you well? Mari, are you well? Eugene, are you well? Oh, you speak for him. Are you his spokesman? Oh, you are. How long have you been in that capacity? Yeah, I don't even know why I spoke to you. Oh, well, thank you for sharing. I didn't know that. Bird, are you a young man? You are? You're a young man? Are you a wise young man? Huh? You didn't know you were a young man? Oh, you did? Oh, you can be grown? In its time, son, in its time. You'll be grown soon enough. So I'm going to give you a pass, because you definitely like to speak to people. What y'all got for that mean Rosh and Dollar? Right. Yeah, you would use chaos, in my estimation, based off the context. And I'll take that interest, what my take just had. So now you got to take that Rosh and what would you say with it? Because now you've allowed chaos or dysfunction to enter. And what Rosh, you would say that you allowed this to enter your thoughts. But now you've allowed chaos to enter your mind when you're dealing with rebellion. Because when you're rebelling, then what are you choosing? You're choosing dysfunction, or you're choosing disorder, or you're choosing the adversary. Let me make sure that, because I recall thoughts being Rosh. Let me double check this. You see how that works when you rebel? Because what do we know from 1 Corinthians 14 and what, 33? The Elohim is not the all. He has not written rebellion. How do we know he hasn't written rebellion? Come over here to Ecclesiastes chapter 7. You still hold a 2 Samuel chapter 24. Ecclesiastes 7 and 25, if you would. It says, I applied my heart to know and to search and to seek out wisdom and the reason of things, and to know the wickedness of folly, even of foolishness and madness. And I find more bitter than death a woman whose heart is snares and nets, her hands are as bands. Whoso please Elohim shall escape from her, the sinner shall be taken by her. Behold, this have I found, say the preacher, counting one by one to find out the account, which yet my soul seek, but I find not. One man among 1,000 have I found, but a woman among all those have I not found. Oh, this only have I found. The Elohim has made man upright, but they have sought out many inventions, and that's plots, plans, and devices. So man has sought out to rebel. Because at the end of the day, who rebelled in the garden? It was man. See, we're not going to put it on just on Eve. Eve was deceived. Adam rebelled. Because Adam knew better. Because he the one taught him. That's why Job 31 and 33 say, if I try to cover my iniquity or hide my iniquity in my bosom like Adam. Because he tried to cover it up instead of rebuking her for her action. You know what I'm saying? Maybe they would have been an opportunity for mercy. You know what I'm saying? When we look at it on the face and not past that. But you have to look at that. That's rebellion. When the person who has authority over you tells you to do something and you choose not to do it, you are a rebel. And why are you a rebel? Because you've allowed chaos to enter into your thoughts. Your thoughts meaning your plots, your plans, your devices, the things that you are inventing or preparing to do. Because you knew what you're supposed to do. And that's what I meant beforehand about this world convincing you to operate outside of your role. This is what we were also talking about last night about rebellion. They're teaching you to be disorderly and be in confusion and allow those thoughts to permeate in your mind to cause you to have disdain for your natural function. You know what I'm saying? Man and woman have a natural function of what who created for the purpose of the manifestation of his kingdom on this terrestrial plane. When you don't have a desire for that because you have a desire for the world, because you know the world is nothing but the lust of the flesh and the lust of the eyes and the pride of life. That pride of life is what is necessitating the rebellion because you're lusting after what you can see and the things that you desire. You reject your natural function. So when somebody comes to you, introducing you to your natural function, you resist it. Because your flesh is no different when you get thrown in the pool and you feel like you're drowning. You fight to try to save yourself. And your flesh fights to try to stay alive versus allowing it to die. There ain't too many people finna dump in the pool and feel like they're drowning and just say, well, if I die, I die. No, you're going to fight to stay alive. And if you haven't made a resolution in your mind that I'm going to nail myself to the stake of Mashiach and die with him, then your flesh will fight to stay alive. And then what ends up happening, as we also look at, sometimes that we discussed before, and that's Psalms 139, you should ask you who to search your heart. If there be any unrighteous thing in you, that it can be removed. And you get put in situations, and he's showing you that you need to get that up out of there, but you don't want to hear that. You know what I'm saying? Because you don't want to acknowledge that is a problem. You can't do that. Don't think that way. Because I was here, right? I told you before, right? You never want to be complacent. And when I'm talking about being complacent, feeling like that you have arrived, feeling like that you have achieved the pinnacle of where you need to be at. The minute you feel that way, you should be dying not too long after that. Because that means your journey is complete. If you feel like, oh, I'm the best I can be, ain't no more room for growth, and this, that, there, and the third, then clearly you finished the fight. You kept the faith. A crown of life is reserved for me. Because anytime you see any righteous man in here who had reached the stage they needed to reach, did they not die not too long after that? What's the purpose of you being here? You've achieved what you need to achieve. It's time for you to lay down and wait for your reward. But as long as you're breathing, then that means that you can be better. That means there's more for you that you can know. It's more wisdom that you can acquire. It's more understanding that can be imparted. Just even if you get sealed with the Ruach, don't mean I'm perfect. I ain't got to do nothing else. It's a bad way to think. Complacency leads to death. Because the minute you get comfortable, you're going to get tempted. What did he tell you in Matthew chapter 26? Watch and what? Pray. Because the Ruach is willing, but the flesh is weak. You can play with it if you want to. And who that is? Second Chronicles 36 and 14. Now, as I said, right, this we seek out to rebel. We the only creatures that Yahuwah created that seeks rebellion. Because the animals do what he says. The heavens do what he says. Everything on the earth does what he says with no rebellion except for man. Man say, I don't want to do that. He said, don't be a homosexual. Man say, I'm going to be here. He said, don't be an idolater. Man say, I'm going to work with this rock. He tell man, don't be an adulterer. I'm going to cheat on, I'm going to sleep with everybody's wife. You know what I'm saying? Because that's really when he was talking about adultery first and foremost. That was really his first audience. Was telling men, don't sleep with another man's wife. You know what I'm saying? Because niggas in Israel had that issue. He tell you that in Jeremiah, that men were neighing at their neighbor's wife's house. That's really who he's talking to first and foremost, is don't sleep with another man's wife. Why would he tell you that? Because that was another man's property. Ain't that how he used that analogy, the prophet Nathan talking to David? That was another man's property he took. He owned that. Why would you do that? You know what I'm saying? Looking at adultery in the eyes of Yahuwah is no different than stealing. You're taking something that don't belong to you. That's that man's wife. Why would you do that? That's part of the reason why I've also told you that men take that more seriously than women do. Because it's ingrained in your subconscious that you know your wife is your property. It might sound harsh, but that's what it is considered. Clearly, if you're paying a dowry, you're making a purchase for a possession. But this is a prized possession, a possession that you're supposed to take great care of. You know what I'm saying? And that's why it was looked at very, very poorly for a man to sleep with another man's wife. Second Chronicles chapter 36, verse 14. He said, moreover, all the chief priests and the people transgressed very much, and after all the abominations of the heathen, and polluted the house of Yahuwah, which he had hallowed in Jerusalem. But Yahuwah Elohim of their father sent to them by his messengers, rising up betimes and sending, because he had compassion on his people and on his dwelling place. Now let's just look at that word for compassion. It is kamal, to have pity, to have compassion on. You got Kot, Meme, and Lamar. Y'all can go there. Kot, Meme, and Lamar. But look what it said. He got pity on his people. That's what long suffering is about. Someone is transgressing against you, and you have enough pity and compassion to be merciful unto them that they might correct that behavior. Because he could have came off the top rope and said, you know what, I'm gonna just wipe all y'all. But that's not who Yahuwah is. He is slow to anger. Very slow to anger. After that, you can get Numbers chapter 14 and 18 and Psalms 86, 15. I guess I'll get Romans 2 along with it. I didn't want us to consider, because what we're looking at is what will pacify those messengers of death. And I'm gonna read several verses to you, Wes. To lift up by the strength of the Ruach. No, I can roll with that one now. Absolutely. Yahusha will separate you from that chaos, which come from what? Having compassion on you because you've rebelled, because you've allowed chaos into your heart. You know what I'm saying? How many times did he tell you to lay up the words in your heart? Lay up the words in your heart. Lay up the words in your heart. And then he still told you at the same time that the heart is deceitful above all things and desperately wicked. So he's already telling you your heart will lead you to rebel. It will lead you to rebel. You need his word to be able to come through to push out the rebellion. This is how the pacify or the purging of the wrath of the king can be removed. It can't be removed any other way. Because remember we talked about it last night. What is the beast coming to do? He's coming to teach you what? Rebellion. Rebel. Rebel. Because what, like I said, right? I was telling Ethan earlier, man, what we were talking about last night. Which he would heard it though. Like we go through all these ancient mythologies and all these pagan deities to see the rebellion that they teach. And just like I told you can't deceive nobody with something that is completely opposite to the truth. It has to mirror it. It has to have. This is a dick. If you want to get somebody with a lie, you got to tell a little bit of truth. Because the truth is what bring them in, and the lie is what keep them. You know what I'm saying? No different than what they're doing now. Is there a coronavirus? Absolutely. Is it killing people? Sure. Is it killing people at the level that they're trying to get people at? Absolutely not. Because they gave you a little bit of the truth so you could get caught up with the lie. Once you get caught up with the lie, now I can manipulate you and push you and move you in whatever direction that I want to move you in. Because I gave you a little bit of truth, so you're going to run with that. And when somebody points out, that's a lie, look how they respond to people. We got to save lives. We got to do this here. That's all well and good. But somebody's telling you this is not true. But you don't care that it's not true. Because that little bit of truth is what you're holding on to. Because you know why you're holding on to that? Because you don't want to believe that the other half of the fall is a lie. You know, a lot of people hold on to a lot of lies because they just don't want to admit that they've been deceived. Because they make to them, it feels like they're less intelligent. They don't want to admit somebody deceived me. When everybody on this earth has been deceived. It ain't necessarily got to be deceived by another person. You were deceived by traditions and customs that were bold-faced lies. It didn't matter if somebody willfully lied to you. You had been deceived. It doesn't make you less intelligent for you to be deceived. It makes you less intelligent to know you're being deceived and refuse to acknowledge that you're being deceived and to let go of the deception. That's what makes you less intelligent. Oh, no, you good, bro. That's what makes you less intelligent. Being deceived is nothing. It happens to everybody. But when you know you being lied to, that ain't no lie. That ain't no lie. Are you a special type of student? You know what I'm saying? That don't make no sense. But let's continue. But look what they do. Verse 16, they mock the messengers of Elohim. They despise his words, misuse his prophets, until the wrath of Yahuwah arose against his people till there was no remedy. Get the word for remedy. It's marpe. And that's no help, no cure. So when you buck the word, there's no help or cure for you. And see, that causes you to look at things differently. Remember what it said in Proverbs 29:1? He that stiffens his neck shall be destroyed and without remedy. Because that's the long suffering of Yahuwah. He just going to get tired of talking. He just going to get tired of talking. Come over here and we'll look at it in the law first and foremost. What I mentioned, Jeremiah 32, Exodus 34 first and foremost. Then Jeremiah 32. Yeah, I said Numbers 14. Let's do Numbers 14 first. Because they both say the same thing. I just want to grab one out of the law first and foremost. Numbers 14 and about verse 13. Thanks. Are you okay? Numbers 14 and 13. Moses said unto Yahuwah, then the Egyptians shall hear it. For you brought up this people in your might from among them, and they will tell it to the inhabitants of the land, For they have heard that Yahuwah are among his people, that Yahuwah are seen face to face, and that your clouds stand over them, and that you go before them by daytime in the pillar of a cloud and the pillar of fire by night. And now you shall kill all this people as one man, that the nations which have heard the fame of you will speak, saying, because Yahuwah was not able to bring this people into the land which he sware unto them, therefore he has slain them in the wilderness. And I beseech you, let the power of my master be great, according as you have spoken. Yahuwah is long suffering, of great mercy, forgiving iniquity and transgression, and by no means clearing the guilty. It is in the iniquity of the fathers upon the sons, and upon the third and fourth generation. Pardon, I beseech you, the iniquity of this people, according to the greatness of your mercy, and have you forgiven this people from Mizraim even unto now. Yahuwah said, I have pardoned according to your word. But truly as I live, all the earth shall be filled with the esteem of Yahuwah. Now let's look at this word for pardon before we look at long suffering. That word is kalak, and it means to forgive and to pardon. And you have samak, and you have lamad, and you have kat. You have samak, you have lamad, you have kat. But notice what he did. He manifested that long suffering by pardoning the transgression. Because he was ready to kill everybody. And he chose not to do so. Thankfully, because you had an intercessor. You got samak, you got kat, and you got lamad. That's what I said. Mm-hmm. Yes, sir. What? Are you in a rush? You got somewhere to be? Tuck your lip in. You stick your lip out one more time, I'm going to thump you in your lip. You'll tuck it in one way or another. Tuck that lip in.
What was the last one?
Hold on, let me look. I'm looking at it. And Lamar. Samak, Lamar, and Kai. Kalak is the word for pardon. It means to forgive or to pardon. And then we're looking at how to pacify that anger. So the messengers of death, or pacify the wrath, that those messengers of death will not fall upon your head. Remember what Yahushua said in Luke chapter 18, that men ought to always to pray and not to faint, and that he would avenge you speedily. But he said, nevertheless, will I find faith when I come on the earth? That's what he's looking for. See, a lot of brews think he's looking for Hebrew names and fringes, when he's looking for who believed on me. Because that's what's going to get the wrath turned from you. How many times you seen in the Gospels where he said, go in peace, your faith saves you? Because that's what's going to save you. Then after, of course, y'all already know, if you got the faith, then you're going to obey. See, you can't say you obey, but you don't believe. And you definitely can't say you believe and you don't obey. Those two things don't go together. How could you believe and have hope and expectation of a reward and then not do the things necessary to attain the reward? The reward is not attained in your ability to follow the instructions. Your reward is attained because you believe the promise that made you have a desire to follow the instructions. Because without the promise, there would be no need for you to follow the instructions. That's why I think a lot of brothers get it messed up at. You know what I mean? It's about the promise. Then when you believe the promise, keeping the instructions is nothing. That's a light thing for you because you're so focused on the promise that the instructions don't bother you. It's not like, hey, I can't do this, I can't do that. It's more so, shoot. Y'all know some of y'all people used to promise y'all certain money to get certain grades. You think you really went that hard in school because you might have really liked school. But your belief and trust in them to give you what they promised you made your ability to do that schoolwork a whole lot easier. Because you knew that they were going to reward you for your service. So your hope wasn't in the, oh, you owe me because I did this work. Your hope was in the promise. Then there, because you did that labor to receive the promise, and you see how your people were delighted because you did something that pleased them, that made the reward even greater. Because not only did you get the reward, but your authority figure was pleased with your labor. which is what you were really after anyway, which was to be validated by them. Because most people tell that unless your people was pieces of trash, everybody wants to be validated by the person who raised them. You want their acceptance. You want them to tell you you did a good job. You need to hear that. You want to hear that. People who serve you, what's the thing that people always say they want to hear when they see you? Who? Good job, oh faithful servant. That means you want his validation. You want his validation. You want to know that your works pleased him, that he's pleased with you. See, there's nothing wrong with that as long as it's done in the proper context and in the right framework when it's being executed. You shouldn't be seeking to be pleased and validation from everybody you come across. But a woman should want validation. Well, women want that anyway. But of course, you want to be validated by your husband. You don't want your husband to tell you you suck. No, you're a horrible person and a horrible woman, and I ought to be married to a broomstick. You know what I'm saying? Meaning an inanimate object. I'd be better off. Well, you know, when people say things when they being harsh, that don't matter. They're gonna say something hurts your feelings. What y'all got though? We got some Hawk and we got Lamar and Kai, right? That little cousin, wow. Yeah, you want, and his forgiveness is your protection. Because if you get the forgiveness from him, then guess what happens? You get that ruach, and that's your protection. Because what do we read when it comes down to them plagues? Who's protected? Then with the mark, because you've been pardoned, because your sin's been remitted, because you done drunk the cup and ate his flesh and baptized in his name. My little cousin say, when I said nigga walk around with a schlong on his neck, he say he almost died. He said you got to give caution before you say stuff like that. But it's that reality though. It need to be said like that. Maybe they'll consider. Let's look at this word for long suffering. I still got a little bit of time because we're going to pick it back up again. Y'all willing at 8 o'clock. The word for long suffering is a rock. You have aleph, you have wash, and you have ka. This literally means to be patient and to be slow to anger. That's what long suffering is to be slow to anger. Once a man can master that, ain't too much left you can master anything else. There's one thing that the book says you can control your whole body. And what was that? Your tongue. If you can control your mouth, you can control your whole body. Because the tongue is unruly. You know that? No, sir. No, sir. No, sir. After this, we go to Romans chapter 2 and then Romans 9. What y'all got for that Arach, though? Aleph, Rosh, and Ka. Sit down, sit down. Me, myself, I would say that you've been subdued by the power of the highest. When you're subdued by the power of the highest, then what have you allowed to be subdued? Your carnal nature. Your fleshly nature. I want you to come to Romans chapter 2 real quick, like that. Romans 2 and 1. Baby, I've been into the water. Please, up with some water. What you hanging your head down for? Because I mocked you? My apologies, sir. You didn't like to be mocked?
Why is your countenance falling?
Mari. Can we get some water? Oh, you want to laugh. That's what you want to do. You don't want nobody to know. Can I get some water? Romans 2 and 1. He said, therefore you are inexcusable, O man, Whosoever you are that judge, for when you judge another, you condemn yourself. For you that judge, do the same things. For we are sure the judgment of Elohim is according to truth against them which commit such things. And think you this, O man, that you judge them which do such things, and do the same, that you shall escape the judgment of Elohim. Or do you despise the riches of his goodness, forbearance, and long suffering, knowing that the goodness of Elohim leads you to repentance? Now, why do we read that? Because Peter told you that the long suffering of Elohim is not slackness, as men count slackness. What is the long suffering? He's slow to anger because he doesn't have a desire to kill anyone. That's not his intent. Don't get it twisted, because he will do it. But like we read in 2 Chronicles 36, what is he saying? I have compassion. I got pity on you. I want to remove the thoughts of chaos from you because you've allowed that to enter into your mind. And you want to blame me or other people for your own lust. Because at the end of the day, when you go stand before Yahuwah, he ain't going to want to hear this person did this person did that. You're responsible for your own conduct. You're responsible for your own conduct. Because guess what? Yahusha had his beard plucked out his face. And men spit in his face. You think he didn't want to get up and put no hands with these dudes? You think he was a coward? When he already told them, don't you know I can call for 12 legions of angels, which takes you back to the wrath of the king as messengers of death? He said, I can call for 12. Plenty messengers of death. We can lay everybody out. That's nothing. See, most women, y'all don't understand that concept as a man. Like, y'all know somebody spitting on you is disrespectful. But as a man, for a man to spit in your face, he's telling you, you're less than a man. I have no respect for you whatsoever. And at the end of the day, respect is very, very big for a man. And dudes die for it every day. And kill for it every day. Every day. We done talked about this in the past. It's a lot of altercations that done went down simply because a man felt like his manhood was disrespected. You know what I'm saying? Disrespect. Spitting in somebody's face is just the highest form of disrespect. Besides slapping them. And they did that to him too. So imagine you a man's man, an olive man, the strongest man that ever walked the earth, and a nigga has an unmitigated gall to slap you in your face and spit in your face. And not only spit in your face, this ain't even a Hebrew that spit in his face. This is a Gentile spitting in his face. That's Roman spitting in his face. There were Brews who were slapping him in the face. And then they had the gall to tie blindfold behind on his eyes and slap him up so he couldn't know who did it. It is. It is. Remember what he told the dude in John 18 that slapped him? What he told that dude who slapped him in John? Yeah, he said, if I'd have said something wrong, then so be it. But if not, nigga, what you put, I'll let you know he ain't with it. What you put your hands on me for? What's wrong with you? Because you said, what's your doctrine? He said, shoot. Ask them. They heard it. He slapped the fire from him. He like, hold up, cuz. If I did something wrong, I can understand that. But don't what you hit me for? What's wrong with you? He already told him if my kingdom was of this world, my servants would fight. We ain't on that. So that's a level of humility and subjection to his father to endure that. See, we just think about the part with the crucifying, not the part with him being humiliated before he got crucified. Because he was humiliated before for a man to be spit on, slapped up, bust upside the head with a reed, beard plucked out, stripped of all your clothes, put on a robe and be mocked. That's humiliation. You know what I'm saying? And men are prideful creatures, not the pride like you can't tell me something, but this is my manhood. You can't take that from me. That's why I say 95% of the world, they lay down. You don't let this world take your manhood. Because you won't stand for your ideals. Yahusha stood for his ideals strong enough to be humiliated for them. So that's why he said we got to be willing to do the same thing. He was willing to be humiliated to not compromise what he stood for. He was willing to be humiliated to remit your sins so that wrath of the king and be the messengers of death to be purged from you so he wouldn't have to drop them on your head because he gonna drop. Oh yeah, Romans 9. Grab that Romans 9. We finished with Romans 2. I need Romans 9. 9 and 19 if you would. They get 9 and 16. They ain't hurt. Yeah, he got stripped butt naked. That's most disrespectful. What did the text say by David's servants when they cut off half their beard and they cut their pants till their booty hole was out? What did it say? Them boys was shamed. They were dishonored. They were like this here. They came back. Look what they did to me. What did it cut your beard, cut your pants out? He said, man, stay back to the house till your beard be regrown. Because that's disrespectful. See, now, dudes walk around with their booty out. Ain't no big deal. But, back then, you know what I'm talking about? That was seen as a sign of dishonor. You disrespected the men when you did that. I want no grown man looking at my butt cheeks. And not just his pants sagging, like his whole booty out. Like, do you know how weird of a person you got to be to do that? But they did that because they knew that was a sign of disrespect. Because he had sent them to be messengers to that particular group of people, to the Syrians, if my memory served me correctly. And they did that on purpose in order to show, screw what you talk about. That was disrespect. That was purposeful disrespect. Romans 9 and 16. So then it is not of him that will, nor of him that run, but Elohim that show mercy. For the scriptures say unto Pharaoh, even for the same purpose have I raised you up, that I may show my power in you, and that the earth my name might be declared throughout all the earth. Therefore he have mercy on whom he will have mercy, and whom he will harden. Will you say then unto me, why do he yet find fault? Or whoever resisted his will? No. But, oh man, who are you that reply against Elohim? See, a lot of people say that. He made people that way. Well, who is you to talk against the Most High God? Who is you, nigga? If that man want to make you evil, that's his prerogative. If he want to make you righteous, that's his prerogative. You know what I'm saying? But again, as I've told y'all in the past, people have created a thought process of who they want God to be. Like I seen somebody say, well, if God need to hurry up with his plan with this coronavirus, and I told you, I said, if he wouldn't even call me, if I seen that, I said, let me tell you something, sir, just so you know. His thoughts are not your thoughts, and his ways are not your ways. This stuff gonna go down how he wanted to go down. How dare you open your mouth and dictate to this man what he doing when he do it? May hell wait on you and be extra hot when you get there. You know what I'm saying? You disrespectful piece of crap. You know what I'm saying? Because you're not saying that because you really care about Yahuwah and you want suffering and death to stop. You're really saying it because you hate Yahuwah and you don't like the fact that this present situation is making your life uncomfortable. That's why you said it. And that's why I said what I said to you. No good bastard. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, that's all he did. But you know where that come from? What did he always tell you in church? God got a plan. God got a plan. And everybody think the plan pertains to what they want when he done told you what the plan is, which is to get honor and esteem to his name and redeem his people. That's the plan. The plan is you're going to serve me or you're going to serve the devil. Which one are you going to do? The plan ain't so you can reach some high level of status in your life. What's the plan with the coronavirus? To kill you wicked bastards? That's the plan. And so that the works of the wicked can be furthered, so that he may usher in and finish his mystery. As it says in the book of Revelations, when the mystery of Elohim is completed, then all things will be finished. Because the mystery of iniquity working, same time the mystery of Elohim working. And they're going to coincide and collide for one final battle at the end. And guess what's going to happen? You're going to choose Satan or you're going to choose Yahuwah, but you're going to choose. See, that's what people don't realize. I told you the other day, you're going to be Switzerland. I'm neutral. Or you're going to choose Satan or you're going to choose Yahuwah, but you're going to choose. I recommend you choose Yahuwah. And guess what? The law already told you this. He said, I set before you life and death, blessings and curses. Therefore, choose life. Because this is not a vain thing for you. This is your life. That's what Moses told you by the mouth of Yahuwah. It's your life. And niggas around here playing. Let's continue. He said, nay, but oh man, who are you that reply against Elohim? Shall the thing formed say to him that formed it, why have you made me thus? Have not the potter power over the clay of the same lump to make one vessel under honor and another under dishonor? What if Elohim, willing to show his wrath and make his power known, endured with much long suffering the vessels of wrath fitted to destruction, That means he said he better. He want to not only make his power known, he got enough patience to be slow to his wrath that he might let them come to. What did it tell you in Genesis when he said that we would come out after 400 years, right? That's what he told Abraham, right? What did he say about the Kenites and the Amorites? Not yet full. Their lawlessness is not yet complete. So it can't end till the lawlessness is complete. Do you realize that once the lawlessness in Egypt was complete, when we left up out of there, that Egypt ain't in the same sense? It ain't been the same sense. Not with them running it. Historically, it hasn't. Ain't been the same sense. Yeah, they didn't have some kingdoms. Other people ran it, though. You know what I'm saying? Now they ain't even there no more. It's some pale-faced niggas over there. Call them sand niggas. That's what them white folks might call them. But seriously, though, you look at history from the time that we came up out of Egypt, Egypt has not been the same since. Their culture has been co-opted and bastardized and marginalized and pasteurized and tossed around through the whole earth since that time. Egypt has not ruled the whole earth since then. You can't say Alexander the Great or Ptolemy because those were not Egyptians. They slid through there and they took it over and ran it, just like he said they would. Dude's gonna sit there and tell me, "Oh, the Bible is historically inaccurate." Let you tell it. Let you tell it. I'm gonna jelly you. I'm gonna tie you. Gonna get whooped like your name Caillou. Come on with me to Joel chapter 2. And then we'll grab one more witness with this Joel 2 and go back to 2 Samuel 24. Joel chapter 2, verse 12. Joel 2 and 12. Therefore also now saith Yahuwah, turn you even unto me with all your heart, and with fasting, and with weeping, and with mourning, and rend your heart, and not your garment, and turn unto Yahuwah, for he is gracious, merciful, slow to anger, of great kindness, and repent him of the evil. You know, it's a lot of times in the text how Yahuwah tell you how merciful he is, how slow to anger he is. But we never seem to listen. Come to Proverbs 16 and 32. That's the one I'll use and call that a day. Renee. Stand by. Proverbs 16 and 32. I can't recall. What's the name of Pharaoh? The Pharaoh that was ruling during the time of the Exodus. I can't remember. His name escapes me at this time. I find it. Maybe. I think I'm. Ramses. Yeah. Ramses the second.
I didn't think that was true.
His name is known, but he's known as his name Amos or Akhenaten. And that son say Sigmund Freud used to debate about Moses, of all people. Of all people. Proverbs 16:32 though. He said, he that is slow to anger is better than the mighty. And he that ruleth spirit than he that taketh city. What do y'all think that means when he tell you that? That he that is slow to anger is better than a strong man, and he that can control his city, control his spirit, is better than somebody that can take the city. What? He says, he that is slow to anger is better than the mighty. He that ruleth spirit than he that take a city.
person that got self-control.
But for keep it very, very simple, that person has more power than somebody who rules by brute strength. As the saying goes, you know, the strong rule the weak and the wise rule the strong. You know what I'm saying? Because most people who only move by brute force are usually not very intelligent. They just got muscle. Somebody who is slow to anger is better than a strong person, as you say, because they can control themselves. Therefore, if you can control yourself, you're not blinded by rage. They do. You're not blinded by rage. When you're not blinded by rage, that means you're not moved by emotion. You're not moved by emotion, and you can make logical and rational decisions. But when you're quick to anger, like the book tell you, be angry but sin not. Everybody in here been angry. When you get angry, you don't think straight. That's why he say anger rests in the bosom of fools. But now he say somebody who can control the spirit is better than somebody who takes the city, because somebody who can control their spirit will not move by impulse. Somebody could take a city and take the wrong city and end up overextending themselves and later on down the line be taken out. Because there's more power and strength in your ability to control yourself than it is to have the ability to go along with your impulse. 2 Samuel chapter 20. Fix your shirt, man. Fix your dress. Fix your clothes. Fix your clothes. 2 Samuel chapter 24. Well, we ain't gonna read how long it took for him to count it up. Verse 9. Joab gave the sum of the number of the people unto the king, and there were in Yasharal 800,000 valiant men that drew sword, and the men of Yehuda were 500,000 men. So that means they counted up 1.3 million men. That's just in Judah, though. And David's heart smote him after that he had numbered the people. And David said unto Yahuwah, I have sinned greatly, and that I have done. And now I beseech you, O Yahuwah, take away the iniquity of your servant, for I have done very foolishly. For when David was up in the morning, the word of Yahuwah came unto the prophet Gad, David's seer, saying, Go and say unto David, Thus saith Yahuwah, I offer you 3 things. Choose you one of them, and I may do it unto you. So Gad came to David and told him and said unto him, Shall 7 years of famine come into your land? Or will you flee 3 months from before your enemies, while they pursue you? Or that there be 3 days of pestilence in your land? Now advise, and see what answer I shall return to him that sent me. David said unto Gad, I am in great strait. Let us now fall into the hand of Yahuwah, for his mercies are great. Let me not fall into the hand of man. See, now that take you when we talk about with that beast. Because that beast is man, and people don't fall. See, men don't have mercy. See, that's the thing that people don't realize. Men don't have mercy. Not like the mercy that Yahuwah has. That's why you have to take on his spirit, because men are vindictive and wrathful by nature. You know what I'm saying? Period.
Yeah, a series of problems.
Yes, sir. So Yahuwah sent a pestilence upon Yasharal from morning even to time appointed, and there died of the people from Dan even to Beersheba 70,000 men. Let's look at that word for pestilence right
Yeah.
Now the word for pestilence here is Devar, and this is a plague. You got Dalet, Ba, and Raj. So when you sit back and you can look at this, you can see how you can be moved around or hung by the Son of the Highest because of disobedience. Because what caused this plague, that caused that plague, was rebellion. You did something you ain't had no business doing. Now he's going to send messengers of death because it was angels out there knocking these people off. We're just about to mention that. Verse 16. And when the angel stretched out his hand upon Jerusalem to destroy it, Yahuwah repented of the evil and said to the angel that destroyed the people, it is enough, stay your hand. And the angel of Yahuwah was by the threshing place of Aruna, the Jebusite. Now, somebody I knew posted a picture, right? I guess what the coronavirus is, and like a picture of the street, and was like, if you could really see that, would you still go outside? And you know, the first thing came to my mind is, you looking for a virus. I know that's an angel. Smoke niggas. You know what I'm saying? You walking down the street, smite you down. You walking down the street, smite you down, smite you down, smite you down, smite you down. See, that don't sound good to people because they don't know that's in the text. Do you know what I'm saying? People think of Spanish flu, influenza, and that's correct, but and all that stuff, and all, man, that'd be Yahuwah knocking people down. It'd be an angel walking through with Balaam. What did that donkey see? With what? What was that Malachi standing? Sword in his hand. Standing there ready to slay. You know what I'm saying? So the same token, if there's a Malachi that's standing there ready to slay, it's Malachi's around certain individuals that's ready to protect. But see, people don't believe in Yahuwah, so they don't have that concept. So they like, gotta stay inside. Where's your mask? You gotta protect everybody. People, that's why I say that's a sinner problem. Don't come to me with sinner problems. It's not my problem. Because remember what a sinner is. A sinner is an offender. Those are people who offend against Yahuwah. They are subject to those type of things. Not to say that a righteous man can't be subject to it either, because it could be a trial and test of their faith. You know what I'm saying? So let's just make that be clear and understood. That's not saying that, oh, if you get sick, you got to be a sinner. No. But when you worried about it to that extent, that tells me you are more than likely are an offender and a transgressor. And that sounds like a personal problem. But let's continue. Verse 17. And David spake unto Yahuwah when he saw the angel that smote the people, and said, Lo, I have sinned, and I have done wickedly. But these sheep, what have they done? Let your hand, I pray you, be against me and against my father's house. Gad came that day and said unto him, Go up and rear an altar unto Yahuwah in the threshing floor of Aruna, the Jebusite. David, according to the saying of Gad, went up as Yahuwah commanded. Now notice, what did Yahuwah tell him to go do? This is Yahuwah sending Gad to tell him, go make a reconciliation by sacrifice. So you can see what pacifies the messengers of death. It's a reconciliation by sacrifice. Hey, little baby. And Aruna looked and saw the king and his servants coming on toward him. And Aruna went out and bowed himself before the king upon his face. Aruna said, Where is my lord the king come to his servant? David said, Divide the threshing floor of you to build an altar unto Yahuwah, that the plague may be stayed from the people. Aruna said unto David, Let my lord the king take and offer up what seemed good unto him. Behold, here be for oxen, for burnt sacrifice, threshing instruments, and other instruments of the oxen for wood. All these things did Aruna said as the king gave unto the king. And Aruna said unto the king, Yahuwah your Elohim accept you. The king said unto Aruna, No, but I will surely buy it of you at a price. Neither will I offer burnt offerings unto Yahuwah my Elohim of that which do not cost me nothing. See, look at the key thing he said, right? That he would not make a sacrifice to Yahuwah. That's something that he didn't have to pay. See, you know what he tell you, what he said, the sacrifice of the wicked are an abomination to Yahuwah. How much more when he do it with a wicked mind? See, you can't come and make no offering to Yahuwah and then it don't cost you nothing. You're going to have to give something up. You're going to have to come out of pocket with something. Let's look at those words for that. See, that's what a lot of people look at. You want to make a sacrifice. How do you make a sacrifice that don't cost you nothing? That defeats the definition of the word sacrifice, does it not? The word here is kana. It means freely, for nothing, without cause. Also means for no purpose and in vain. And you have kat, you have noon, and you have mean. It also means undeservedly and gratuitously. You have kat, noon, and mean. And of course, the last verse says, and he He bought the threshing floor and the oxen for 50 shekels of silver. He built the altar. He offered burnt offerings and peace offerings. And Yahuwah was entreated for the land, and the plague was stopped. But you got cotton, noon, and me. He said, I won't do this for nothing. So the first thing you look at is the blood of eternal life will separate. Well, what do you have to be separated for? We already read it in Hebrew 9. You're going to have to die because the covenant is of no effect unless the testator perish. So what is it going to cost you? It's going to cost you your life. That's what it's going to cost you. See, people call themselves making a sacrifice to Yahuwah, but they haven't given up their life. So therefore, you just offer the burnt offering for nothing. Let's go into another location. The Book of Kings. He said, sit. Okay, we don't need that because that's the same story. 2 Kings chapter 19, followed by verse 30. Oh, no, indeed. Oh, no, indeed. 2 Kings 19 and 30. I'll get to the hero cult on our second foray. Start at 30. Matter of fact, make that 20. I'll move around in the story. Say, then Isaiah the son of Amos said to Hezekiah, saying, thus saith Yahuwah Elohim of Yasharal, that which you have prayed to me against Sennacherib, king of Assyria, I have heard. This is the word that you have spoken concerning him. The virgin daughter of Zion have despised you and laughed you to scorn. The daughter of Jerusalem have shaken her head at you. Whom have you reproached and blasphemed? Against whom have you exalted your voice and lifted up your eyes on high, even against the Kadosh one of Yasharal? If you remember, Sennacherib is a good comparison to the beast, because he was speaking and blaspheming against Yahuwah, telling us, who remembers what he told Yasharal not to do? Who remembers what Sennacherib was telling Yasharal not to do? He mentioned that, but that wasn't what he was really doing. No, not Egypt. He was in the king of Assyria.
No, I'm saying, wasn't he doing the term?
He said don't listen to Hezekiah, but he said something before he got to don't listen to Hezekiah. He did that too, but he told him don't pray to Yahuwah. Yahuwah can't save you. Don't call on him. Don't do nothing. And then he mentioned, yeah, don't listen to Hezekiah. Let me find a verse for you. It's chopped over. Right here in chapter 18. Pick it up at verse 29. We'll make it 28. He said, then Rabshakeh stood and cried with a loud voice in the Yahudim's language, spake, saying, hear the words of the great king, the king of Assyria. Thus saith the king, let not Hezekiah deceive you, for he shall not be able to deliver you out of his hand. Neither let Hezekiah make you trust in Yahuwah, saying, Yahuwah will surely deliver us, and this city shall not be taken into the hand of the king of Assyria. Hearken not to Hezekiah, for thus saith the king of Assyria, make an agreement with me by present, come out to me, and then you eat every man his own vine, and every his own fig tree, and drink every one waters of his cistern, until I come and take you away to a land like your own, a land of corn and wine, a land of bread and vineyards, a land of oil, olive, and of honey, that you may live and not die. Hearken not unto Hezekiah when he persuades you, saying, Yahuwah will deliver us. What does that sound like to y'all? That'll come in the future. What does that sound like? Don't listen to Yahuwah. Not just that, not making war with the beast. Listen to what it said. Listen to what he said you'll get. Just check it out. I heard you, Zach. Listen to him. He said, Yahuwah won't deliver you. In verse 31, look what he said. Make an agreement with me by a present. Come out to me, that you may eat every man his own vine and every one his fig tree and drink waters out of your own system. What does that sound like? Unless you get the mark. Ain't that what he telling me? Let's get this word for agreement because it's in italics. Yes, sir. When you see a word in italics, that means that that word is not there. That means there wasn't a Hebrew equivalent, so they just put that there. Oh, you talking about literal what is italics? Oh, right. Yeah, it's like a slanted type cursive, not cursive.
It's really just differentiate the text or whatever the text is and give something.
When it says agree with me by present, it's got the word for blessing there. So baraka. So it also it means treaty of peace. That's what that word also means. So when he's telling you make an agreement with him, he's saying making a treaty of peace. And what is a covenant supposed to be? A treaty of peace. And he's telling you when you take this treaty or this covenant with me, then I'll give you food to eat and water to drink. But don't listen to Yahuwah. Guess what? So you don't think the beast's gonna be telling people that? Don't listen to you exactly a covenant. Don't listen to don't listen to this man over here talking about Yahusha. Come over here so you can eat bread, nigga. Make this covenant with me. And you know what a lot of people gonna do? Well, shoot, boy. I be hungry, man. I like McDonald's. Alice in Wonderland. Back to 2 Kings 19. But we'll wrap up right here in 19. Fat man. Second King, what's that? At 19 and 23. Muffin man. He said, by the messengers you have reproached Yahuwah, and have said, with the multitude of my chariots, I'm going to come up to the height of the mountains, to the sides of Lebanon, and will cut down the tall cedar trees thereof, and the choice fir trees, and I will enter into the lodgings of his borders, into the forest of his Carmel. What that sound like Serena Trav say he going to do? That he will dwell in Zion. He said, I've digged drunk strange waters. With the sole of my feet have I dried up all the rivers of besieged places. Have you not heard long ago how I've done it, and of ancient times that I have formed it? Now I have brought it to pass that you should be to lay waste fenced cities into ruinous heaps. Therefore their inhabitants were of small power. They were dismayed and confounded. They was the grass of the field, and as the green herb, as the grass on housetops, and as corn blasted before it grown up. Now we could drop down. Indeed he did. Indeed he did, brother. Indeed he did. Remember what it tell you, right? That you got to do what? Bear fruit up, but you got to do what? Take fruit down. He said these were the people who would be protected. As a remnant. Well, I read verse 30. He said, and the remnant that has escaped of the house of Yehuda shall yet again take root downward and bear fruit upward. For out of Jerusalem shall go forth a remnant. They shall escape out of Mount Zion. The zeal of Yahuwah of hosts shall perform it. So this is referring to the people who will be delivered. If you took root downward, what have you done? You have crucified yourself to bear fruit upward, meaning the fruits of the Ruach, meaning you have allowed that seed to enter into your heart, because the seed abides alone unless it dies. When it dies, it brings forth much fruit. The Lord already told you this. He told you that the seed is the word, and that if it fall into good ground, it brings forth what? Fruit. Some 30, some 60, some 100-fold. What is the fruit that is producing? Joy, peace, faith, long-suffering, gentleness, goodness, meekness, self-control. Therefore, you would be a part of the remnant that would escape, or that 1/3 that we talked about last week. But all of this is because that you trust in Yahuwah and not man. Because what was Serenity trying to do? Put fear in the people's hearts to make an agreement with him to get physical sustenance, to save their own lives. Because the biggest way, Besides that, no, that's probably one of the biggest manipulators or motivators to get people to do what you want them to do, and that's put them in a life or death situation. When people in a life or death situation, 9 times out of 10, they will respond to save themselves and disregard any and all standards, codes, ethics, values, whatever you want to call it, that they stand for. About verse 34. He said, "For I will defend this city to save it for my own sake and for my servant David's sake. It shall come to pass that night that the angel of Yahuwah went out and smote the camp of the Assyrians 185,000. And when they arose early in the morning, behold, they were all dead corpses. So Tirhakah, the king of Assyria, departed and went and returned and dwelt at Nineveh. And it came to pass as he was worshiping in the house of Nisroch, his god, and Dramelech and Sharezer his son smote him with the sword, and they escaped into the land of Armenia. And Esarhaddon his son reigned in his stead." So look what Yahuwah did. Did the armies of Yasharal smote these people down? He saw the Malachim kill 185,000 men. 185,000 men. That when everybody woke up, there were nothing but dead bodies. Because one man ran his mouth. That's also pointing you to what's going to happen when the Lord comes. We already talked about this last night. Who coming with him? A Malachim. Dudes be around here talking about, we're going to fall on swords and we're going to fight. You ain't going to do nothing but sit there and watch who will work. Yahushua and the angels got that battle, but that's not your fight. But you'll get to wash your feet in their blood. Hallelujah for Yahushua and the word. I appreciate everybody's time. You who are willing, we'll pick this back up again at 8 o'clock. That's all y'all in the house of y'all name of Yahushua. And you who are willing till 8 o'clock. You know Mom's song? How you know? Oh, because she wants to see us. Would you like to talk to Mom? Would you